Hey, I'd like to welcome our guest, Melissa. Melissa, do you live in Santa Maria?
I'm in Colton, California.
Down
Yeah, so
in
I'm
Southern California.
yeah, Southern
Okay.
California.
And do you have you been photographing for a while? You have a photographic interest?
You know, it's one of my favorite things to do. Professional at it. I have the basic equipment. And so on my spare time, I like to research and continue to learn. And I'm thinking of taking some classes as
Excellent,
well.
excellent. Well, I want to tell you that we have some excellent photographers here, but the majority of us are not professionals. So, like my husband and I, we've only been, really photographers for 5 years or so, and we joined to learn more, to become better, and it's the club has helped us immensely. So I just encourage you to continue to join with us and watch our competitions are great. Come and join us and participate in the competitions because you learn a lot from that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the invite.
We're glad to have you join us tonight.
Thank you.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You see, okay. Has anyone? Let me see. Oh, the Powells. Are you guys in Yosemite already?
Nope. We
No?
are near Merced, a little town called Planada, I think. And I think we're 75 miles from the valley or something like that.
Are you you're in your motorhome?
We don't have a motorhome, but we do have a truck.
Your truck can't, well, whatever.
Oh yeah, I know. I call it a trailer all the time.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you have good Wi-Fi and can join us.
It's been collecting dust since October, and this is the first time we've had it out since then.
So, Melissa,
Yes.
so Penny Powell is our field trip coordinator, and she arranges trips for us. And right now, she and her husband are headed to Yosemite. Tomorrow, my husband and I are going to join them in Yosemite. I think it's sort of midweek and maybe a lot of people couldn't join, but this is typical for one of our meetups, and we'll social distance, but we'll help each other to know where we should go to photograph, when we should be there, what each other is using for equipment, and we just learn from each other and these field trips. So we have a few of them every year, and so that's one of the other benefits of joining us.
That's great. So you guys provide.
Yes, definitely. I think everybody is very open to trying to help each other. You can ask. I've asked many rather kind of stupid questions, and no one's laughed at me. Matter of fact, they made me president. So what can I say?
Who?
I think
Cheryl. Who's that guy with you in the room?
Yeah.
Hello.
He grew this thing on his face.
Yeah, and I see that Ed has shaved his beard off.
Yes, he did.
Oh,
Wow.
look at
Wait a
that.
minute, I
Ed,
gotta
you're
see that
clean
again.
shaven.
Wow.
He looks 25 again.
Hey, Frank. Good
Yes.
to have you.
Thank you.
Hey, I think we're going to get going here. Moving forward with our competition for tonight, and just a little bit of business to begin with. We've already welcomed Melissa, who is a friend of Patty, I think.
Mine.
Rosie.
Me.
Rosie, friend of Rosie. And we're glad to have you join us. And
Thank you.
we're going to introduce our judge here in a minute. I don't have any really other news to announce. I'll just ask Penny quickly. Do you have anything else that you want to convey to us? Any important info? Penny?
Just that the or to the
Oh, we've
lighthouse
lost.
will be hearing from his people.
Say that
Hello?
again about the Pinnacles trip.
The Pinnacles trip is fine. It's the lighthouse trip that PG&E is still not allowing hikers or any kind of thing going on there for tours. As of Monday.
Okay.
And so Bob says to let him have another week to see if it could change. And then
Okay.
by the end of the month, for sure, I'll probably end up just putting out an email through Rosie to say whether it's canceled or not. But it's in limbo is the
Okay.
word that Bob used.
All right. So watch your emails for more info on that March trip to the lighthouse. And Bob Mihalik is on it, and we'll let Penny know so we can. That sounds good though. Okay.
But the trip to the Pinnacles is definitely going.
Okay. Pinnacles National Park in April is a trip that we have
March.
planned
March.
in March.
I
What's
think
the
it's
date, Penny? March.
26th, I believe. It's Saturday, March.
That's a long
Take a look. Where's my field trips?
March 26th.
That's probably the 26th.
No, I don't think it's the 26th. I think it might be the 22nd or 21st.
No. It's the end of the month.
It's in the galleon. We can all check.
Yeah, it's all there.
Okay.
Ed and I are going up a day early. So we're going up on Friday. Let's see.
Is there any other business that needs to be announced tonight before competition?
Do you want to talk about the membership and?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, basically, if you haven't paid your dues, we need for you to pay your dues because after this month, you will not be able to participate in competitions unless you have paid your dues and paid the competition fees. So we're on that. We're watching, looking at who's paid and sending your dues if you haven't already.
And we have 23 right now.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So let me.
Alan wants to speak.
Yes, Alan.
Okay, so for the March program, what I want to do is an equipment show and tell. It can be anything. It can be an old camera that you have. It could be a lens. It could be a modern camera. You don't need to impress anyone. If you have something interesting, just show it. And then also, Deckers and Powell's, I'd like to see your just a preview of your Yosemite pictures.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Since we can't get there, that would be part of the program, that and just like an equipment show and tell. And then we'll do a regular photo show and tell on top of that.
And Flavio just went about a week.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Flavio went. He went about 10 days ago and said there was no water at Horsetail Falls, so we're not sure what to expect.
Yeah, there was, as I say to Penny and Cheryl, I went 2 weeks ago, practically on Saturday. There was the good part was there was quite no one strange of all. There was incredibly few people. There was full of snow. The problem is that the falls are quite nothing. There is quite nothing water going down from the mountains.
Oh wow!
Say that was the story because they say that it was snowing 1 week before. Then the temperature incredibly was down, so there was snow on the top, but there was no melting. So this is why the fall were very, very thin and quite nothing water going down. So I hope that instead of you have beautiful falls and you can see what you expect to see during this weekend.
We can hope so.
Okay, we'll try and be ready for that, Alan, and to have some images to show you.
Okay.
Okay. So let us move forward with the competition. And Tony, would you introduce our judge?
I certainly will. I would like to introduce my friend and former colleague, Daniel Dreifuss. Daniel was born and raised in San Diego, fell in love with photography in high school. He attended Brooks Institute of Photography, majoring in commercial advertising photography. He went on to work in Israel, covering 2 wars and documenting local and regional stories. He's currently a staff photographer at Santa Barbara Independent and worked for 4.5 years as staff photographer at Santa Maria Times, Lompoc Records, San Ynez Valley News, and Adobe Press, Lee Central Coast newspapers. He currently freelances for the Associated Press, Los Angeles Times, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, the United Nations Refugee Agency, along with local and regional news outlets. I think he's very good, nice guy, and I feel that we should have a good time with him. So, Daniel, want to say a few words yourself before we start?
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's good to see everyone. I judged for the Santa Maria Camera Club way, way back in the day when I lived in Santa Maria. So it's nice to be back. I know it's not in person, but it's always fun, and I always love seeing new photographers and new photographs, and so I'm excited. Sorry I was late. Completely lost track of time, so I do apologize, but I'm ready. I've looked at some of the photos already, so thanks again.
Thanks, Daniel. Over to you, Greg.
Okay, I think we'll start with color. Oops, excuse me.
Why don't we tell Daniel what the procedure is?
Okay, 1, there's no theme tonight. And 2, we'll step through the procedure, step through the files first for a quick run through. Then we'll go back to the build beginning, and we'll ask Daniel to give us his opinions on each image, what we can do to improve it or whatever, and then give us a score for that image. So this is the first image, and we'll step through them.
Can you turn that light off? It might.
Little views. Franks.
Okay, this is the first of 20 images in color. Daniel, you're up.
This one is titled Clamming on Clatsop Spit.
So yeah, so for this image, I do like how the subjects are very, very small. And I think that's important because you get the landscape and the colors of the sky reflecting. And I would like to see a little bit of a crop where the photo is not so wide. And so, and bring it forward and bring these subjects forward a little bit more, just so you can see them a little bit more. And you can kind of tell a little bit more of what they're doing. And I think, I mean, overall, I do like the colors and the composition of it. You know, you got to watch the stuff, you know, in the foreground here. It'd be really cool, you know, if you got rid of that it's a cement blocker and some debris, and maybe just play off of the reflections of both the subjects and then also the color of the sky and the ocean. I think that would make the photo pop a little bit more. I think, and we're doing the 3 categories, 7, yeah, right? So, you know, for impact, I think it has a very strong impact just because the colors are so bold and bright. And so I'd go with a 5 on the impact. And then the other 2 categories, sorry, my notes here. Yeah, I think there we go. Yeah, the composition I think is almost there. And so I would go with the 3 on the composition. And technique, I mean, the technique is, I mean, you got the, it looks like you got the exposure light right. The aperture is nice because there's enough in focus that you can tell. So overall, I mean, I would give it a 5 for that. So 13 points.
13 total.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
This is titled Crow Feathers.
So I don't know if this is a super cropped image, but it does look like it has pixelated and is very noisy. I don't know if we shot at a super high ISO or it's an older photo that was, you know, for me, this wasn't as impactful as it could be. The light is kind of flat. So I think for impact, it's a 3. For composition, I think the composition just gets lost. I understand what you're trying to do, and it's fun to play around with these textures of animals. I love doing it. I do it all the time at the zoo. But I think if you're gonna shoot this type of way, you need to have the proper gear. So using a micro lens or a long lens from very far away, you know, so you don't lose that detail in there. I overall, I think this is about an 8 overall.
Total score 8? Okay.
Yeah.
Dancing in the Street.
So for me, this was a really, when I looked at this earlier, this was a really tough one for me, because whenever you're trying to motion blur something, you want to have something that pops something in focus or something close, very close to being in focus. And the little girl's face is almost there, but I think you don't see enough of her and you don't see enough of her dress. If you put her in the center or in a third, and widen the photo, and so you see more of her, I think it would be more impactful. Once again, like, I mean, the lines of her dress lead you right to her face, and that's really great. I think you did an excellent job in capturing that spin. I would just like to see her face a touch more in focus and a little bit more of her dress. For impact, I mean, I do think the colors pop, and I think it's very impactful. So a 4 on the impact. The composition, you know, we don't, vertical photos for me are for portraits and items. Shooting vertical at stuff like this is something I personally don't do, but I mean, because we don't see it that way. And so I think the composition is just a little bit lost with cutting off her dress and there. Had it been a full seeing her and the whole dress, it would be composed a little bit better. So I think a 3 on the composition, and the technique is getting there. And so I'm gonna give a 5 on the technique.
So 12 total?
12 total. Yeah.
12, okay. Frog.
So I find this photo really engaging. And I find that 2 reasons. One, it's the focus is spot on. The colors are great. The frog, I don't know if this is your pet frog or you found this frog, but I mean, this is a really nice capture of a frog on a flower. I think this, for me, like, I mean, I don't shoot this kind of stuff. So like for me to go out and try to shoot this image is very difficult. And I think being able to do it is very difficult. I would like to see a little better crop than a square. I don't personally, I'm not a big fan of the square crop, but a lot of people are. I think this is very impactful. I'd give it a 6 on impact. The composition could be slightly better, but I give it a 5. And for technique, I mean, I think this is a spot on technique. Everything that needs to be in focus is in focus. I do like how the frog is slightly off centered, and where you put the frog's head is really key, because you have so much green behind the frog that easily can lose that frog in the details of the background. And I think putting the frog right there within the purple, and then also the darker part of the background, I think is really great. For this one, I'd give the technique a 6.
17 total. Yep. Okay. La Fiesta Flower Maidens.
So I struggle. This one for me was a little bit. It felt like it was a little bit off. I don't know. The focus is off a little bit, but I can't see what you were trying to do. Is the girl on the left the subject? Is the girl on the right the subject? Is the guy who's turned around, were you trying to capture him? I mean, I do like the colors, and I do like the illustration that you put yourself in. I do think there was more there. And I don't know, for me, these scenes are always difficult because you have so much crap in the background, and so everybody's moving. Kids want to look at the camera, they want to make funny faces, all that. And, you know, she is kind of looking at the camera, but also, you know, she's not in focus. So, you know, impact would be a 3. Composition, I think the composition, you know, could be a little bit better on choosing what the subject of the photo, or what the photo is going to be about. And so composition, I'll give a 3 as well. And technique, I mean, I think it's a little bit overtoned, a little bit too much Photoshop. And so I think a 2 for the technique.
So an 8. Okay. Montano de Oro.
So this is really nice composed. It's a little bit flat, and I think that's because of the fog. I think you could use it a little bit, and make the house really pop and the trees come alive a little bit more. But overall, I mean, the composition is really nice. I mean, I think whoever took this, set up a tripod, set up the time, and thought about it. I don't think it was just a snap from the car. But it is. I'd like to see a little bit. I think that's a little bit of a lake. I'd like to see the foreground a little bit more, a little bit less hazy. But overall, I mean, I think this is a nice, great landscape picture. Something to hang on your wall at home. I do think the impact is, sometimes it's just not the lamps impact. I would say a 4. Composition, I would say a 5, and technique, I'd say a 5 as well.
14. Pastoral.
Yeah, so I always enjoy looking at infrared photos, just because you also sometimes don't, if you're shooting film, infrared film, you don't really know what you're getting till afterwards. And I think this one is really nice. I love the green and white. I love the colors. I'd like to see the image pulled back a little bit, and a little bit wider, and a little bit lower, possibly to make that tree sing in the background and pop from the green background. I think impact. I mean, it has a very strong impact. I'd give it a 5 on impact. On composition, I'd give it a 4. And technique, I mean, I can't shoot infrared, so I give it a 5 on technique.
14.
I think that's 13. Yeah, 13.
Is it a 13?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sea lions.
So I think this is a really kind of fun image. It's kind of one of those images you look at and go, oh, look at the sea lions. Like, so although I wish they were in focus. Unless they're moving around and you're trying to get the motion blur, like you got to make sure your photos are in focus. So for me, that the lack of focus takes away a little bit. But I think the impact of it is a 4. The composition, cropping that long way, it makes it so everything is sort of centered in that center line. And I'd like to see a little bit either more foreground or more background, and make it a little bit more, less long ways. So composition, I'd give it a 4 and a 4 on technique.
I'm sorry, I forgot to add 8 and
So 12.
12 altogether. Thank you. Street entertainer.
So this, I find the light to be really well captured. It's the emotion of the photo, plus you can there's a slight light on the person's eyebrows, really makes an impact. And I think the light is really, really nicely captured. And your exposure and everything is spot on. It looks like this may have been outside if it's a street performer. I think this is a moment. I think it's an emotional moment for this person who's dancing or on the street or whatever they may be doing. I really felt that this image cuts to life because you feel the emotion of the person. And so the impact, I would give a 6. Composition, the composition I'd also give a 6, and technique I'd give a 6 as well.
So 18. The stare down.
So this photo kind of reminded me of every year there's a competition of funny animals. It's like a funny animals competition. And this one kind of just reminded me of that competition just because, I mean, this is great. I mean, I think it's a fun photo. It's a fun, the bird staring right at you. You're looking right back at the bird. There's nothing in the background that's distracting. The yellow pops with the blue and black and white. The green makes it come forward. This is a really, really fun photo. So impact, I would give a 6. Composition, I would crop it a little bit horizontal. So a 5. Technique, the technique's spot on, so I'll give it a 7 on the technique.
18. Okay. A day at Canyonlands.
So this was really nice. I mean, it's a nice landscape photo. For me, there's 2 going on in the background. On the right, you see the big open area, but on the left you have these nice rock formations, and then you have the people. For me, either the subject needs to come forward and pop, or the subject shouldn't be there, or the people shouldn't be there, in this sense. So what you have to think about what you're trying to accomplish with this photo. Are you trying to show people versus the landscape, or are you showing the landscape, or are you showing the people? I think the impact, I give a 4. The composition, I think you need to either scoot back or more move forward. Once again, it's super long. And so composition, I'd give a 4, and technique, I think this is a well executed photo, exposure and focus wise. So I'll give it a 4.
12. Okay. Dandelion.
So I like this one. I think it's a nice macro shot. I'd like to see a little bit it go in a little bit more, and maybe have some of the little flower things come see that a little bit more, but also where they're in the bulb there. But I think the impact isn't really like, oh wow, look at this, but it is saying something. And so I think a 3 for the impact. The composition, I think, is nice. I would like to see it a little bit maybe off-centered, maybe a little bit more of the white flower things on the side, or in the middle, or background or foreground. So that could be a little bit improved, but I think you're looking at it and you're doing the right thing. So composition a 3, and technique I'd give a 4.
10. Right. Hot Canyon.
Yeah, so I like this one. It's a little bit different than what we've seen from those type of canyon shots. I like the fact that the exposure is from the outside, not so much inside, but it says something, and I think that I'd like to see a little bit more directional light or something else popping in there. So impact, I'll give a 3. Composition, I'll give a 4, and technique, I'll give a 4 as well.
11.
So this
Smoke break. I'm sorry. Title is smoke break.
So I find this is one of those photos that you kind of look at and you kind of laugh because of what's going on. And despite I think the third lady on the right there was also holding a cigar. I think it would be even nicer if all 3 of them have it. But overall, I mean, I think that the impact here is a 5. The composition, is nice. Your background's somewhat clean. You can try to get rid of the wall on the right there. But I think overall, I mean, this is kind of a fun image to look at. The colors pop. They're all smoking cigars. You don't really think of old ladies like that hanging out smoking giant cigars. So for me, it's kind of fun. So the composition, I give a 5, and the technique, I'll give a 6.
So 16. The crossing.
So this has really nice light. I think the light, really makes the deer crossing pop. I think the light on the grass is a nice contrast. I think the fog adds. This is really nice, whimsical image. And it's kind of one of those things where you're in the right place at the right time at the right light to capture this. So I think this isn't. I don't think this is an easy image to capture. And so I think that adds value in the pop and the impact to it. So impact, I would give a 6. Composition, I'd like to see, I'd like to see the deer a little bit more. So composition, I'll give a 5, and technique, I think you nailed the exposure, the light on the deer, and so I'll give that a 6 as well.
So 17. All ears.
This is this is kind of like a headlights photo. I think it's a nice photo. It's just there's no light, there's no direction. It's a image that says, hey, look at me, I'm a deer. But I think playing around with it, or putting shooting through some trees, or having a slightly different crop may affect it as well. For the impact, I'd give a 3, composition a 2, and technique a 2 as well.
So 7. Artist.
So I'm a big street photography fan, and I think this photo shows the street, and I like that. I like that the fact that he is actually painting and not just like holding the brush. You can tell that, and the photographer did a really nice job of capturing that. I do think with these types of situations, you really got to play with your angles, and you got to move around. You got to see what else is going on. He's away from the wall, so like I don't shoot down. Try a bunch of different things. Overall, I think it's an interesting image. I think the impact is a 4. The composition is a 3, and technique is a 4.
11. Broken window.
So this image, you know, it's about detail. And I do like the light on it. I just think that there's more detail there. Are you focused? I mean, are you putting the broken glass in the middle, or is that the subject, or is that the point you're making, or is the rusty yellow, you know, lines that hold the glass together? I think there's something there, and I do like the light on it. I think it's well composed, just because it's, you know, both are off center. It really kind of makes you think of what's going on. So the impact, I'd say a 4, composition, I'd say a 5, and technique, I'd say 3.
12. Okay. Feeding time.
So this image, I think is great. The only issue I found with this image is that the whale is not in focus. And had the whale been in focus, this has been on, I mean, you could sell this image 100 times over at a stock website. Just because I mean, it's nice. I mean, you can't really choose where you are when the whale comes up, but you know, getting rid of the boat in the background, maybe something, but it's got to be in focus. And if the whale was in focus, this would be a fantastic image. You have the middle ground of the whale, you have the foreground of the kayaker who's out of focus, and you have the background, which is, you know, a bird flying in rocks and hillside. So, you know, that would have really popped if you nailed the focus on it. I think the impact on this one is a 5. Composition is a 7, but technique is a 3.
It's a 15. Okay. This is, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Valadella Luna.
So this is a really, really beautiful landscape image. I think, I mean, the different colors of the sands and the mountains and the sky, and it's on a volcano over there. I think in the blacks and in the shadows really make every aspect of this photo sort of come together. And I kind of like go back to that other photo of the arches and with the people in it, and that's kind of, you know, this photo says to me, I'm shooting this landscape because I want to show the landscape, and that's a clear idea. So I think the impact is a 6. Yeah. The composition I think is really nice. I mean, this is one of those where it's a landscape, so it's got to be super wide, but it really have aspects of each part of the photo that makes sense. So composition, I would say a 5, and technique, it looks like everything is in focus. I would also say a 5.
16. Okay, we have a couple ties to break. We need to pick a first and second between number 9 and 10. The street entertainer and the stare down.
Okay. So I'm going to give first place to the one on the left of the street performer.
Okay.
And a very, very close second. You know, it's hard to, like, for me, like, these are 2 different categories. So they, in retrospect, these would be great in both categories, in each of their categories. So it's kind of hard to, you know, choose a beautiful bird shot and versus a street performer shot. So, I think both photographers should be proud, and it's a very close second.
Okay. We need to also break the tie between number 4, Frog, and number 15, The Crossing. And we're going to pick a third and honorable mention.
Okay.
Yep, excuse me.
That would be number 4, The Frog. And The Crossing is number 15. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, once again, like, I mean, these are 2 great images. I'm going to have to give The Crossing with the deer 3rd place and the frog honorable mention. But once again, I mean, these are 2, and that's only because I think the light on The Crossing is better. I do, the colors and everything on the frog are great. Like I said, I mean, these are 2 different category photos, but yeah, The Crossing will take 3rd and honorable mention the frog.
Okay, thank you. We have 20 images in this category, so we are allowed to pick 1 more honorable mention. So we have 1 more tie to break between number 14, Smoke Break, and 20, Validate. I can't say that. Valadella Luna, and we need to pick 1 of those for honorable mention.
I'm gonna go with the Smoke Break because it kind of made me giggle, but also just I think it's a fun image. I think it's a nice moment that was captured. And I mean, not to take away a beautiful landscape, but like, I mean, I can see the landscape blowing up in an office somewhere, both nice, but the second honorable mention should go to Smoke Break.
Okay, and I think we're ready. This is Clamming on Clat Stop Spit by Elaine Calvert. Crow Feathers by Penny Powell. Dancing in the Street by Patty Blythe. Frog by Ed E. Powell, and honorable mention.
Yeah.
What a guy.
La Fiesta Flower Maidens by Gregory Doudna. Montano de Oro by Larry Decker. Pastoral by Tony Martindale. Sea Lions by Chuck Ubley. Street Entertainer and Our First Place by Rosie Brancalcio.
All right, Rosie.
Nice job, Rosie.
The Stare Down and Second Place by Frank Trump.
Very good.
A Day at Canyonlands by Penny Powell. Dandelion by Frank Trump. Slot Canyon by Larry Decker. Smoke Break and our other honorable mention by Rosie Brancalcio.
Hey, Rosie.
Rosie's on a roll.
The Crossing and Third Place by Elaine Calvert.
Nice image, Elaine.
Yeah. That's nice.
And All Ears by Frank Trump.
Definitely all ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, cute.
Artist by Rosie Brancalcio. Broken Window by Penny Powell.
I think it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Feeding Time by Chuck Hughley.
That must have been awesome to be there, Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty incredible.
Yeah,
How long did you get out of the whale?
Do you have a whole series of those? I mean, how many frames did you get when you were there?
I shot quite a few, but you never know when they're coming up. And I had my, as mentioned, the sharpness wasn't that great. I had the shutter speed a little too slow with a long lens. So.
Where were you?
Plus, you were probably in a kayak.
Yeah, in the kayak.
But
In Avila Bay.
what beach or what place?
Avila Bay.
Wow, that's cool.
This is Rala de la Luna by Larry Decker. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, Larry. I need to go get some water. I'll be right back.
Okay.
We'll wait here for you.
I'm here.
Oh, that's nice.
Are we doing the run through?
Yeah, oh, not yet. We're waiting for you. You ready?
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
Okay,
Sorry.
we'll do a step through. We have 16 monochrome images.
What is this?
Okay, it's our first image.
Okay, this is Cafe Conversation.
Cool. Yeah, so I like this image. I think it tells a story. I think the story there, is this gentleman who's on the phone, but his hat, his outfit, the background, everything sort of kind of is there. Although like some of it is distracting, but I think it also adds to the same, and the light that makes him pop is really nice. I think impact, this is a 5. Composition, I'd also give a 5, and the technique, I think it's a well-toned, well-lit photo, and I'll give a 5 as well.
15. Joyful.
So for me, it's a really nice portrait. I think this is, if he's a professional violinist, this is, something she can use to help promote her music. I think it's, I think it's toned well. I think I'd like to see a little bit more of the violin, and the crop. I mean, it's a little square for me, but it's also a personal preference on cropping. But Yeah, I it's a really nice portrait of a lady. I think that the impact is a little isn't there, but I think the composition's there. So I would say a 4 on impact and a 5 on composition and technique. I would say a 4.
13. Liverpool tug ropes.
So I looked at this image for a long time because I do like what's going on. I just wish that you could see his face and that it was horizontal, not vertical. Just so you, all these lines, all the rows, everything that goes into it makes this man or this guy or this person who they are. And you know, I'm sure he's been doing this for years and years, and you know, there's all the ropes and the detail in that tell that man's that person's story. So I think I understand what the photographer was trying to do and approach. I think the impact of this is a 4. The composition, I just feel need something else. We need to see the rope. We need to see his hands, his face. That's what, you know, this guy's been doing. So the composition, I'd give a 3, and technique, I think the technique is fine. I think everything on the building in focus, the background slightly out of focus. I'd go a 5 on the technique.
So is that a 12?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. The Louvre Pyramid, number 6. The Louvre.
I'm not sure how anyone got a photo of it without any people in it, but that's quite amazing. Unless you're traveling during COVID. But I do like this image. I think with the Louvre, it's slightly off-centered, but I think there needs to be less foreground or more foreground. I think you can take it kind of off-center even more and really push it. I do like the clouds in the sky, buildings on the side sort of bring your focus into the pyramids there. I think impact would be a 5, composition a 4, and technique a 5.
14. On parade.
So once again, I mean, I really enjoy street photography, and I think this is a nice shot. I think the dog looking at the camera kind of makes it. You could probably get rid of the car on the left and bring it in a little tighter. But I also just think that the contrast between the, you know, travelers and then also the board in the back, you know, gives it a nice contrast of, you know, I don't think that girl's ever going to wear that jewelry in her life. But also, I think the dog also just really pops, and the light really brings it out. You know, the shadow of the dog, and then also the you know, the background is the shadow, and then she's coming up with the light. I think the impact is a 5. I think the composition is a 5, and technique, I'd say a 5 as well.
Rhyolite Train Depot.
So I think this one's a little. There's something about this image that is kind of spooky. I think it might be the toning, but it's also, I think it might be just the atmosphere. you know, it has that sense of, I'm not sure if it's abandoned, but it has a sense of being abandoned. So I think the impact would be a 4. The composition, I'd like to see a little bit more of the stairs in the foreground, and maybe move the camera slightly in a direction. It's a little bit angled, weird. So composition, I'd say a 4. The technique, I do like, you know, the time of day this was photographed. You know, some nice light on the stairs, some nice light on the left side of the building there. So I'll give a 4 on the technique.
It's a 12. Ross Castle.
Yeah, I like this. I think the boat is nice. I'd like to see the castle a little bit more, but I think it's well composed. I think the impact is a 4. The composition is a 5. Nah, 6. I like the composition. I do like the framing of it. The trees and bushes and the water really frame the boat and the castle nicely. So 6 on the composition. Technique, it does look like it was either film or printed weird, printed or edited different. So the technique, I'll give a 5.
15. Grandma's house.
Yeah, I mean, I think this says Grandma's house pretty clearly. I don't mind that there, you know, not every photo needs to have a person in it. I do like the composition of this. I think the impact is a 4. I think the composition is a 5. I think the technique is also a 5.
14.
Yeah. I like the fact that the photos are crooked. Yeah. 14.
Okay. Portrait of performer in net hat with birds 2010.
So I think this image is really beautiful. I think it's well composed. I think, you know, the fact that her eyes are the only thing really in focus in this whole photo really makes them pop. I wouldn't mind seeing another image of this. You know, but the birds in the hat there also add to it. I think the mask adds to it. I think the light on her eyes is really nice. I think impact, this is a 6. Composition wise, I think it's well executed, it's well cropped. I'll also give it a 6. And technique, I think this is it's a 7 for me, just because the focus is there. Whoever shot this knows their apertures, know their shutter speed, and it was executed really nicely.
So 19. Courtier Pigalle.
Pigalle.
Pigalle. Sorry.
For me, I like the light. I like the ocean flare in the windmill there. I think, you know, it's bright neon lights are hard not to blow out. I think this is a really well composed image. I think the impact of it is a 5. Composition is also a 5, and technique is a 4. And I say that because I've seen this image before. For me, like, even watching like POII today and other competitions and judging, for me, like, if I see an image that I've seen before, it's it's not always, it's not different enough. And you know, this is a great shot, you know, especially, you know, it's great for your collection. I have shots just like it from I went to Moulin Rouge. Like it's just for me, like I've seen this shot before. So I, you know, the technique is there and it's nice and it was well executed, but I just feel like it needed something more. I do like the reflections. I think that's a nice added touch. Needed something more. So a 4 on the technique.
Is it 14? Shell Beach fog.
I like this. I like the birds. I think the birds on the bottom part of the rock really line up together. And I think that brings some elements to it that, you know, you don't always see. Impact, I would say a 4. Composition. I'm not sure if I'd like to see it tighter or wider. Maybe see both. So composition a 4 and technique a 4 as well.
12. Skyline.
I like this one because it pops. The grading and coloring on it, or toning of it is really nice. The highlight on the building, I think, really makes a statement, and the darkness on one side, and the darkness of the sky really contrasts the building. I think an impact would be 6. I do like the composition. I give it a 5. The technique, a 5 as well.
16. The Long Walk.
So for me, I'm not sure what decade this was taken in, or I think this is another one where I've seen this image. I've seen this before, where, you know, it's that lonely man or lonely person walking down the street. I mean, I do like it, and I just feel like it's a little bit outdated. But the impact and the color, you know, him being really pops on the screen, and so I'll give it a 4 for the impact, the composition. You know, the road leading into buildings and him being on the road. I think the composition's nice. Also for the technique. I'm not, yeah, the technique, I'm going to give a 3.
Waiting for the verdict.
I like this because it kind of, it shows her impatience with what's going on. And, you know, knowing now that she's waiting for a verdict, but it also shows that she's impatient on the verdict, but also, you know, kind of impatient with the kid as well. I like the color, the color grading on it. I like that she's looking away from the kid. You know, he's holding a balloon. It all kind of comes, in some sense, together. The impact, I'd give 5. The composition, I'd like to see a little bit different. It's a little bit off axis to me. You know, moving around and maybe straight on or from a different angle. So I'd like to see a little bit of improvement on the composition. So 4 on the composition and the technique. I think, you know, it's always hard to shoot in courthouses. They always have really shitty lighting. So yeah, I'd give it a 4 on the technique.
13. Victorian Web.
So I like this one because it's kind of, I don't think it's a macro shot, but it kind of makes you feel like it's a macro shot. But all the lines and the detail are there. This is really nicely toned for a black and white image. I think it really makes you think. So the impact I would say is a 6. The composition's really nice. I mean, I think you really filled the frame. It could, you could try to move the center or the main part of the photo there, the center of it, off axis a little bit and see what it does. But I think the composition is a 5, and I think the technique, I mean, everything in that photo looks to be in focus. Nothing really drops off. Nothing's super blown out unless it should be. The details there, I think the technique is a 6 is 6. Yeah, let's say give it a 6.
So I'm total, let's see. Is that a 16?
Yeah.
Did I? Yeah, okay. I wasn't remembering. View from Pont Notre Dame.
Yeah, so I think this is really nice because once again, you don't see, it's a beautiful landscape of Notre Dame and the river there. You don't see people, which is nice for this kind of photo. I think the middle ground, foreground have some nice aspects to it. The tree on the right, the tree on the left, and then Notre Dame right there, just slightly off center, I think is really nice too. It's a lot of the river though. And I think, are you photographing the river or are you photographing Notre Dame? I do like the toning on it. I think the impact is a 5. I think the composition is 4, and the technique is a 5.
14. Okay. Let's see, we need to break the tie between number 12, Skyline, and number 15, Victorian Web. And we're going to pick a second and third from this.
Okay. I think I'm gonna give second to the Victorian Web and third to the Skyline.
Okay. Okay, so for honorable mention, we have a tie between number 1, The Conversation, number 5, On Parade, number 7, Ross Castle, and that's it, those 3.
And 2?
We need to pick one honorable mention from these 3.
Okay. I really like I think the top image should get an honorable mention, yeah.
Okay, we're ready. Cafe Conversation and honorable mention by Cheryl Decker.
Nice image, Cheryl. Very nice.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. I like that one right up top. That was.
Thank you.
Joyful by Ed E. Powell.
She looks joyful.
He is joyful. That's for an album
Nice.
cover.
Liverpool Tug Ropes by Bernard Fallon. The Louvre Pyramid number 6 by Jim McInnes. On Parade by Elaine Calvert. Rhyolite Train Depot by Gregory Doudna. Ross Castle by Tony Martindale. Grandma's House by Ed E. Powell. Portrait of Performer in Net Hat with Birds 2010. First place by Jim McInnes.
Yay, Jim.
Title, Jim.
Courtier Pigalle by Cheryl Decker.
Cheryl, you know, that's the sex district, Pigalle.
Of course, I was there.
I know.
Were you working or vacationing?
It's a little slow.
That's not what it was.
Shell Beach Fog by Chuck Ubley. Skyline in our third place by Tony Martindale.
All right, Tony.
Nice image, Tony.
Really nice.
Nice.
That knocks me out. That is just a splendid image. That's the kind of stuff I want to get for my black and white. I don't know what I'm doing.
The Long Walk by Bernard Fallon.
Like.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Waiting for the Verdict by Gregory Doudna.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Story.
Victorian Web in our second place by Cheryl Decker.
Yay, Cheryl.
Cheryl.
I know.
View from Notre Dame and Jim McInnes.
That'd be it, folks.
All right.
That's all she wrote.
That's it.
Good job, everyone.
Thank you, Dan.
Oh, sorry for all of the images that I butchered. I mean, the titles that I butchered. Ugh.
You only butchered 50%, so you're doing okay.
Yeah, I'm always bad tonight.
It's all those foreign
Lynn, you only
names,
gotta
they
get
do that to confuse
Your
you.
judge tonight.
I was trying to add in my head and talk at the same time, and that's kind of like walking and chewing gum at the same time.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Just for your information, Daniel, the Ross Castle was in infrared.
Was infrared.
Yeah, infrared. But I did tone it that color, you know.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Well, good job, everyone. It's some great work. And yeah, good luck, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you post COVID.
Okay.
Well done, everyone.
All right.
It's kind of nice having that many images and getting to have a second honorable mention, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we had a good mix between color and monochrome this month.
Yeah,
We did. We did.
we did.
I think it was good that we went to 3 images that we could enter. I think that was a nice extra. Yes.
Yes.
That was a good amount, and I enjoyed the variety of stuff that we got this time. It was very nice. I enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
I don't think that Tony and some of these other people with scores above 14 or 15 should be allowed to enter when I'm involved in these competitions. Except for that, it's all right.
Oh, I think we should all have a handicap against Jim.
Yeah, McKinnon shouldn't be able to enter at all this year. He has to take a year off.
Yeah.
Anyone who goes tweets, I mean, got every award last year. Sorry.
When he's advertising by having that picture on the wall behind him.
Yeah. It's the same person.
Yeah, it's the same picture, isn't it?
Same.
Cheryl, is Larry there?
I get what he did. He gave him a little stipend and said, just look for the picture on behind me. Get that one number 1.
I lost the connection.
We're on a phone right now because we have a bad connection.
All right. Well, so you can't see images?
Is Nyla on?
Yeah, she just connected.
We could see the images.
I
You
can
can?
see
Okay,
it.
I wanna bring up an image of Larry's. Oops.
Like that?
Yeah, that's fine.
No, it's not what I wanted. Never mind. It's not doing what I wanted to do.
You sound like
Larry, your Flop Canyon image?
Yeah, you had that up there a second ago.
Yeah, when I look at it, I'm going to try and bring it back up. Let me see if I can get it to share again here. Share. I don't want Photoshop. I want.
Yeah,
It's okay, Greg.
Yeah, I can see what you're looking at.
All right. Do you see
There is a square.
that up here in the top?
the vertical
There's
line.
a vertical line going across and then down.
Yeah.
It's like there's an image overlaid on an image in this image.
Oh, that's a sky replacement.
Ah,
Oh, well, it screwed up.
I probably moved it. There was a little flare on the top right side there.
right.
But it's like a perfect rectangle that's brighter than the surrounding canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not talking about the flare.
No, he's talking about the horizontal line.
Yeah, look below that.
No, I don't know what.
At like 80% up, there's a horizontal line going across.
Yeah, all right.
And
Yeah,
then
no, I
about
don't know.
45% from the left, there's a vertical line going straight down to the bottom.
Okay, no, I don't know what I did there.
It looks cool.
Yeah, it's very weird. And I'm surprised that Daniel didn't see it.
Right.
Yeah. It's like that you make a picture behind the window. I don't
Yes,
know.
right. Yeah.
Because
Anyways, Larry, you want to go back and look at it and get rid of that.
I didn't see that before. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry if I embarrassed you, but.
Well, I want to fix it so you can enter it again.
Exactly.
There's Nyla. Hi, Nyla.
Hey, Nyla.
Hi, Nyla.
You're a bit late, Nyla.
Tony, where was that shot of the building that you showed in black and white?
That's Chicago.
It's a beautiful place.
Very well done.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. There was a trend a couple of years ago. People were doing what I call really dramatic landscapes, like that. It does involve in Photoshop making selections and selectively toning parts of it. And I had a go at it, and I thought it was quite impactful. So
the tonality is beautiful in there.
Mm-hmm.
What the reflection on the building was what really grabbed my attention.
Yeah, the sun flare.
Right, exactly. You know, it would have been a completely different picture without that. I mean, that's just a perfect highlight for that photograph.
Yes. I enjoyed making it. I spent some time fiddling with it, and I thought, well, it might not be everybody's cup of tea, being so dark, but it's the tonality that attracts me.
It's also the angle on the building. I mean, that's really really grabs you. You know, when you see that.
Tony, did you use Nick filters to the?
I don't have Nick filters.
Okay, just Photoshop.
It's just purely Photoshop. Well, it started off in Lightroom, but then it went over to Photoshop.
Of course.
As all good photos do.
Yeah. I don't use anything like Nick's software or I have on one, but it's a really old version that I don't use. I just use Photoshop.
Protest. I must protest.
There are good photographs before Lightroom.
Yes. But Lightroom is also my photo archive.
Yeah. Lightroom, I like the cataloging in Lightroom myself.
Yeah, well, let's see about next month. I'm gonna present you some more old film. Remember that?
Yeah.
Images.
Well, I do film.
I enjoyed tonight. It was great, and the photographer was great. He's a professional, and I think he was really spot on with a lot of his comments. And yeah, it's been most enjoyable. Thank
So, next month we have a category. It's called reflections. So entries have to be reflections next month.
Yeah, do you understand how ludicrous that term is?
Which one?
Reflections.
Reflections. Anything you photograph is a reflection. Period.
Say it's
wasn't for the light reflecting, you couldn't take the picture.
Greg, let's say refraction.
Refraction, yeah.
Bernard, what was yours? The long walk or whatever?
Yeah.
He said he's seen it before. He may have seen it, one of Robert Frank's photos from Wales, because that's exactly what it looks like. You know?
Really?
Yeah. Robert Frank has a book called London and Wales, and the Wales is all the coal mining that was going on.
No, we don't know that. We're only British.
Yeah, I know. That's for other people's.
Never heard of Wales.
Yeah, no, not whales, Wales.
Aren't those things in the water?
But when you look at that, there's a couple photos in Frank's book that have that long walk and looking through row houses, basically.
Yeah.
So I think it was, rather than being outdated, as he said, which I thought was a kind of an interesting comment.
Yeah, he said it was decades ago.
Yeah.
And of course, to me, that was from Edison Brow looking toward the dockland. And that image was used by a Liverpool filmmaker called Of Time and the City. And they used it, and they added something else to the image.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to that very site a few times, and it had completely changed because there was buildings and there were other things, prefabricated buildings that were put up, and that image could not be replicated, I suppose.
Yeah.
Since then, and I took that photograph in about 1967, 68.
1860 or 1960?
Let me tell you, my man, but the cavalry were waiting.
Well, I don't know why it's a problem if it's a photo that's been taken before, because it still has impact. And if it's similar to a photo that's been taken before, just about everything's been taken something like that before, right? So yeah.
To me, it's so obviously film as well, which I like.
Yeah.
I'm a film photographer. I like film.
I had a situation that kind of like that when I was studying mathematics at Cal Poly. We had to do it wasn't my senior project, but it was some kind of project that we were assigned to do, and we had to pick something and do the project. Oh, it had to do with I wrote a program to combine waveforms on a computer and show the resulting waveform of different stuff, and I used it to show harmonics with musical instruments and stuff. And the instructor gave me a B. And I said, well, why is it a B? And he says, well, because it's been done before. It's been done before. I said, everything I've done since I signed on here at Cal Poly has been done before. So how is this different,
Yeah.
Yeah, because
changed my grade and gave me an A.
Well, that's so interesting because
I worked on the TV Times magazine in London, and they were the highest circulation magazine in Britain, ahead of the BBC. And one of the photo editors who'd been working for the BBC and the Radio Times said, I've seen all these photographs before. There's nothing new. And it was so cynical, you could just remove the oxygen out of the room, out of the whole picture desk. It was terribly cynical. But what we're seeing now is completely different images, of a horse winning a race, of an athlete, jumping or whatever it is, or a boxer punching. And the photography and the technology is always improving. It used to be in the 70s that a boxing photographer caught the sweat from a punch. Fantastic. Nowadays, it's completely
coming in the mouth. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it, Tony.
Yeah.
So photography is always changing, but I don't mind showing old images of photography because I happen to have been there and I've enjoyed doing it. So if my contribution to these, Santa Monica Camera Club shows is old photos, I'm not embarrassed by it. I just think these were standards that we established. Just by walking around and seeing things. So
I agree.
Another judge would look at it differently. I mean, every judge has their own biases that they bring.
Yeah.
It's all subjective.
Anyway, so
it is subjective.
it's just you don't know what they're gonna like. But.
Don't show anything square unless you have. What was that square one that he liked?
Yeah, he didn't like panos for the most part, and he didn't like
that guy.
And he didn't like verticals either.
Oh yeah,
He didn't like
for
portraits
portraits only.
That's another thing that as a film photographer that uses a camera that does square format, I see nothing wrong with a square picture.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It just depends on the picture, whether it's works for the picture or not.
I have to be a painter now, and I use the square format a lot because the square happens to have a very dynamic impact on any painting that I do. I tell my students, be careful when you approach a square. So yes, square is exceptional, and we have to be aware of it.
But you do realize that a square is a rectangle.
Don't choose with me, laddie.
Rosie,
Just a rectangle with all sides equal length.
Rosie, I like your pictures. I'm assuming they were Cuba.
Jim.
Where?
Cuba? Your pictures.
Or actually, all of those were from Cuba. I had a hard drive that had crashed, and I haven't been able to get any of my pictures off of it for like, I don't know how many years, 3 or so. I finally turned it into a company and they recovered all my photos.
Right.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
and then I backed them all up again.
Yeah.
Have them all.
So recognizable as Cuba. I thought it was.
Absolutely.
Girlfriend.
We're losing you, Ed.
Yeah, you need to turn your microphone up.
We can't hear you.
Actually, turn it down.
Turn it down. In general, you guys are softer than everybody else, so maybe your
They're sitting
microphone needs to be turned up.
They're sitting farther away from the. You're.
They probably don't have the best connection.
Yeah.
Operating.
Probably. Yeah.
We've we've got 2 cups.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Turn the microphone.
Tony, do we have a judge for next month?
Yeah.
What?
Do we know who our judge is for next month?
Yes, I've already given it to Flavio.
Yes, yes. He will be on the gallery.
Yes.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, it's
Tony, did you have any luck with Paul Blyden?
yes, he's going to judge for us in April.
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Yes. Next month. Hang on a minute. Anyway, it's I'm trying to open the thing. There we go. I think. Right, next month, Mark Velasquez is our judge.
Has he judged for us before?
No.
Yeah, he doesn't.
No, it's new.
It's
Never
somebody new, and he's
Cool.
let me see. He's a local boy, born and bred in Santa Maria. He's a photographer and an artist. Received a Bachelor of Fine Arts from Cornish College in Seattle. He's got a website with some of his work on, and anyway, he's going to do it for us next month. It's going to be in the Galleon. His bio and a link to his website.
Nice. Yeah. If you like, Tony, I'll ask my son, Patrick, if he'd be interested.
Yeah.
He's a professional photographer. He's now working for AFP.
Right.
And obviously $50 is a bit of a
yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, ask him. Paul Blyden is doing us in April.
April, okay.
We've got somebody called Mark Iskovich doing us in May.
Yeah.
He's a referral from Chuck.
Okay.
Channa Massa's agreed to do it in June. Rudy Vega is going to do it in July.
Okay.
And so, we got vacancies for August, September,
Could
October.
you put that on the website? So that the reason I mentioned my son Patrick is because he's on the board of the National Photographers Association.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it maybe gives something, a bit of stimulation,
Yeah.
And he just started working for AFP.
Yes.
About a month ago. So whether or not he's got the time, but he might have connections.
Yeah.
And by the way, tonight Daniel was really good in that he had the photojournalist point of view, and he really hit all the right observations, I thought. So that was a good choice for tonight.
Oh, good. Yeah,
I really liked it.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I used to work with him at the Santa Maria Times.
Okay. Yeah. Well, he's come a long way, obviously.
Yeah. He was the staff photographer, one of the staff photographers, and I was technically the photo technician, but I used to get sent out
All right. Yeah.
to shoot stuff,
Yeah, but it all took a tumble.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Like most newspapers, it's taking a tumble.
Yeah.
Santa Maria Times.
That was the problem.
That's right. Santa Maria Times is now compiled. Well, they have reporters here, but everything else is done in Iowa and then sent to our press.
It's a good thing it's not done in Texas.
Well, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Nothing better in Texas.
I want to say about Texas. No, we won't go there.
No, it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Anyway, thank you, Tony and Jim and everybody else. It's been a most